Chapter 57:15. Lin Qianqian and Lin Taxing also smiled after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. We have been wondering why you haven't come yet. You have sharp eyes. Lin Qianqian smiled. Lin Yi raised her eyebrows. Of course, I saw my second cousin-in-law as soon as I turned my head. Bailey Hongzhuang had already felt the rich aura of heaven and earth as soon as she got close. In addition to being richer, this aura also had an unknown special aura. Perhaps this was the so-called rules of heaven and earth, which gave people an inexplicable feeling. Their thoughts seemed to be unprecedentedly clear. Even just being in this environment gave people a completely different feeling of comfort. Demon summoning scripture began to circulate unconsciously, absorbing the rich aura. All the cells in her body relaxed and greedily absorbed the aura. She could clearly feel that the aura in her body was constantly filling up. Cultivating in this environment was not only twice the result with half the effort, but the effect might be 3 times, 4 times, or even more. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bewitching and the others also felt the change immediately. Their faces were filled with amazement. Such pure and rich aura, we can't even touch it on normal days. Di Xiaofeng was surprised. This aura can be directly absorbed. It's a good opportunity to improve. Judging from this aura, the ancient battlefield is an amazing place. The mercenary union has found a good opportunity this time. Mo Yunjue's expression was still cold, and there was no change on his cold face. Lin Taxing nodded and motioned everyone to look not far away. Look, those are the people from the mercenary union. The number is the most amazing. Looking in the direction Lin Taxing pointed, everyone found that the mercenary union's flag was flying in the distance. Its range was almost equal to all the other forces. The number of people from the mercenary union is already amazing. Plus, they were the first to discover it this time, so they have the advantage. In my opinion, the cultivators from the mercenary union are only a part of them. There are more cultivators on the way. In this regard, everyone was not surprised at all. The mercenary union could be said to have the largest number of people among all the organizations. Their management was also very lax. Even the cultivators in the organization were mostly mercenaries. I'm afraid it will be very lively when we enter the ancient battlefield this time, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a faint smile. A heavy look flashed across Lin Taxing's eyes. Actually, I can feel that the ancient battlefield this time is very different. It's much more powerful than the secret realms we've encountered before. Just the Yuan Qi alone has already far exceeded the past. Furthermore, I heard from some elders that the scale of this ancient battlefield is far beyond our imagination. As for what the situation inside is like, no one can say for sure, but the risk is probably unprecedented. Looking at Lin Taxing's solemn expression, everyone's heart sank. The former must have heard a lot of news. No matter what, this is an abandoned ancient battlefield. With so many of us going in, there shouldn't be too much of a problem, Di Xiaofeng said slowly. The solemn expression on his face didn't disappear. Have you heard that Xiao Souwu and Jun Lingxuan have acknowledged Xu Yu as their master? Lin Qianqian suddenly asked. Chapter 57:16. I've already met Xiao Souwu and Jun Lingxuan previously. This Xu Yu is indeed not simple. It's just that I haven't seen them for a while, but their cultivation progress is astonishing. Lin Qianqian's face sank. According to my judgment, they should have reached Nebula Stage 9. With Senior Xu Yu as their master, the two of them are even more arrogant than before. Their arrogance is soaring as if nothing happened. Nebula Stage 9? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. They had been cultivating with all their might without slacking off. With Grandma Hua's medicinal bath, they had reached Nebula Stage 9. She didn't expect that Xiao Souwu and Jun Lingxuan's cultivation had also risen to such a level. It seemed like this Xu Yu was indeed quite capable. Lin Qianqian nodded. That's right. Although I don't know why Senior Xu Yu accepted them as disciples, after this incident, I no longer have the same respect for Senior Xu Yu as before. Now that we're outside, they might have some misgivings. However, once we enter the ancient battlefield, they will definitely think of ways to deal with you. You have to be on your guard. Feeling Lin Qianqian's concern, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze softened. She smiled faintly. Qianqian, thank you. We understand. Bewitching, your speed this time is too slow. Speak of the devil. Just as everyone was talking about Jun Lingxuan, they discovered that Jun Lingxuan and Xiao So were following behind an old man. Before they even arrived, Jun Lingxuan's teasing voice could already be heard. Bewitching turned his head. He didn't pay too much attention to Jun Lingxuan and Xiao So. Instead, his gaze locked onto the old man in front of them. Although it was his first time seeing him, he was certain that this person was the famous Shu Yu. A tyrannical aura was emitted from his body. It inexplicably gave people an indescribable sense of oppression. This kind of power simply didn't allow them to probe his cultivation. When their spiritual power got close, it would be suppressed. In other words, the other party's cultivation was much higher than theirs. As expected of a cultivator who has been to the crossing immortal domain. His cultivation is not to be underestimated, Bailey Hongzhuang said in a low voice. His cultivation should still be inferior to Senior Yu's. It's just that Senior Yu usually restrains his aura, so we can't sense it. Bewitching looked at Shu Yu, who was slowly walking towards him. He was constantly making judgments in his heart. Didn't we come a little late to give you a chance? Bewitching raised his face. His handsome face looked even more charming under the sunlight. A cold glint flashed across Jun Lingxuan's eyes. You're still as sharp-tongued as ever. You still like to be defeated, Bewitching retorted indifferently. Xiao So's gaze was fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, whenever she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she would feel uncomfortable. Only by making Bailey Hongzhuang disappear from this world would she be able to truly feel at ease. Bailey Hongzhuang, let's see who's stronger in this ancient battlefield, Xiao So said coldly. Recently, her cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. She believed that Bailey Hongzhuang was no match for her. I'll accompany you to the end. Shu Yu sized up Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching without saying a word. At the same time, the great elder quietly stood beside Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang with a look of fear. After looking at them for a while, Shu Yu said indifferently, two pretty good young people. Chapter 57:17. It wasn't until Shu Yu left that First Elder let out a sigh of relief, and his tense body also relaxed. First Elder, are you all right? Di Xiaofeng asked with concern. First Elder waved his hand. This Shu Yu is very strong. If he made a move, I wouldn't be able to resist. Fortunately, he didn't seem to have that intention. I really don't know what methods the Xiao and Jun family used to recruit him. This situation is really troublesome. Everyone looked at each other with complicated expressions. This Shu Yu's appearance was tantamount to giving the Di family a big problem. Master, why did you praise them just now? Xiao So couldn't help but ask after following Shu Yu back to the family's residence. She had always seen Bailey Hongzhuang as a thorn in her side. Hearing her master praise Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her, she was really unhappy to the extreme. Shu Yu glanced at Xiao So and said, these two juniors aren't simple. It's not strange that you lost to them. But Jun Lingxuan was also a little confused, but he wasn't as dissatisfied as Xiao So. Ever since he acknowledged Shu Yu as his master, he understood how powerful his master was. He believed that his master must have his reasons for saying this. I've already heard about the experiences of Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang. They didn't rely on the Di family to come to the upper realm, but rather fought their way up from the lower realm. You've never been to the lower realm, but you've always looked down on it. But have you ever thought about how difficult it was for these two youngsters to come to the upper realm with their own strength in that environment? Shu Yu took 2 steps forward, turned around and continued, I just looked at them. They have a kind of tenacity that doesn't fear danger and a kind of determination that doesn't give up until they reach their goal. For cultivators, these 2 characteristics are very important. However, the 2 of you obviously can't compare to them in this aspect. Hearing Shu Yu's words, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao So both fell into silence. Although they were not convinced that they could not compare to others, they also understood that what Shu Yu said was reasonable. They had heard the same words from their father before, so they had to admit it. Shu Yu noticed their expressions and nodded. Not bad. You guys didn't rush to refute this time. Then, Master, are we no match for them? That's not it. Shu Yu shook her head. Know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will never be defeated. You must first know where you are inferior to others, and then improve yourself. What I'm afraid of is your arrogance. As long as you listen to my words and work hard, defeating them won't be difficult. Only then did Jun Lingshuan let out a sigh of relief, revealing a joyful smile. Master, we will definitely work hard. Actually, the gap between you guys has already shrunk. You guys are Nebula Stage 9, and they are also Nebula Stage 9. The gap isn't that big. They actually broke through to Nebula Stage 9? Xiao Sou was stunned. During this period of time, they had trained so hard to break through to Nebula Stage 9. Originally, they thought that they would be able to crush the other party, but they didn't expect that the other party had also broken through to the same realm. This feeling made her very unhappy. Chapter 57:18. Hearing Shu Yu's words, Jun Lingshuan and Xiao Sou fell silent. Actually, this was something that they were unwilling to think about. Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Yu's improvement after coming to the upper realm was indeed astonishing. Back then, the difference in strength between them was not small. However, in just a few years, Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Yu had not only caught up to them, they had even surpassed their cultivation. How could they, who had always been praised as geniuses, accept this? Most importantly, back in the Divine Cloud secret realm, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's taboo techniques were too shocking. Therefore, when they found out that they were both Nebula Rank 9 cultivators, their confidence in winning had already begun to waver. Under the same cultivation, they were very clear that they were no match for them. Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's methods were enough to let them crush all cultivators of the same level. Although they did not think that they were weak, they still had some understanding in their hearts at this time. Shu Yu looked at Jun Lingshuan and Xiao Yu, who had fallen silent. She did not want to hurt her two disciples too much, so she immediately said, "As cultivators, most of us are extremely hardworking. Aren't you guys working hard too? Don't take what happened in the past to heart. The past is the past. Now that you are my disciples, I will definitely make you the most outstanding young people. Do you understand?" Jun Lingshuan and Xiao Sou's spirits were lifted. Then, a strong sense of confidence appeared on their faces. Yes, Master. Previously, they had indeed lost to Di Beichen and Xiao Yu. However, now that they had the number 1 expert Shu Yu as their master, Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Yu obviously did not have such an opportunity. Therefore, this was their trump card to turn defeat into victory. Shu Yu nodded in satisfaction. Previously, I said so much because I hope that you guys will not be arrogant and complacent. Of course, there is no need to belittle yourselves. Accurately recognizing your own strength is the most important thing. The vitality that overflows from this ancient battlefield is the vitality of heaven and earth. It is the source of cultivation energy. Cultivating here will help you greatly improve your cultivation. You must grasp this opportunity and cultivate well. Before you have enough confidence to defeat your opponent, don't cause any trouble for the time being. Jun Lingshuan and Xiao Yu cupped their hands, their expressions serious and strict. Master, thank you for your teachings. We will definitely remember it in our hearts and diligently cultivate. We will not cause any trouble. Shu Yu's face, Xiao Yu and Xiao Yu, Xiao Yu and Xiao Yu, he was not very willing. After all, the conflict between these two little guys and Di Beichen could be said to be well known by everyone. Shu Yu, Shu, Shu, Yu and Xiao, Shu Shu. Now, it seemed that this was indeed the case. As for Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, they were indeed good seedlings. However, since they were opponents, they could only become stepping stones. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen did not immediately start cultivating like everyone else when they arrived at the ancient battlefield. Instead, they looked towards the Mercenary Association's encampment. After a round of investigation, they saw a familiar figure in the Mercenary Association's team. Chapter 57:19. When he heard that the Xiao family's team had arrived, he immediately rushed out to take a look. As expected, he saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. Huang Futing is really here. Di Beichen's lips curled into a smile, and his heart relaxed. At least now that he saw Huang Futing, it proved that they had been doing well in the mercenary guild and had not been discovered. I told you, with their abilities, there won't be any problems. Bailey Hongzhuang looked relaxed. This is good too. After entering the ancient battlefield, we will have a helping hand that others don't know about. Huang Futing was originally thinking about whether to get close to Di Beichen, but he saw the latter give him a look. He immediately stopped and understood Di Beichen's meaning. Now that all the major forces were gathered here, it might be best to pretend that they didn't know each other. The cultivators standing beside Huang Futing were also happy when they saw Di Beichen, but they were stopped by Huang Futing. Let's not expose our identities. It won't be too late to meet the young master after entering the ancient battlefield. Hearing this, everyone's expression froze and they all understood. It's easy for us to be noticed in the mercenary guild. If everyone knows about our relationship with the young master, it will be troublesome if more things are involved. Brother Huangfu, thank goodness you stopped us. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They had indeed thought too simply. This is also the young master's intention. Huang Futing smiled faintly. Now is a once-in-a-lifetime cultivation opportunity. Normally, it would be difficult for us to obtain cultivation resources. Now that we have such an opportunity, everyone has to grasp it and strive to raise their cultivation as soon as possible. Only then can we carry out our grand plan earlier. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expression was refreshed. Thinking about the dark sacred assembly, everyone felt as if they had been injected with chicken blood and were full of energy. In the past, they had been aimless and could not see the future and hope. Now, a bright path had appeared in front of them. Although the surroundings were full of thorns and obstacles, they were full of confidence. At the very least, they now had a goal to strive for, instead of living aimlessly like a walking corpse. I see a lot of familiar faces. It seems like they've all come here. Bailey Hongzhuang pretended to be indifferent as she quietly observed Huang Futing's surroundings. Many of the people she had seen in Emperor Cloud City appeared around Huang Futing. It's a rare opportunity. They won't miss it. Di Beichen smiled. Now we can rest assured. Let's go into the tent and cultivate. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou had both broken through to Nebula Stage 9. It could be seen that Shu Yu indeed had some ability. They might be thinking about how to deal with us. We have to raise our cultivation as soon as possible and not give them any chance to take advantage of us. His deep and wise eyes were dignified. Although Di Beichen was very disdainful of Jun Lingxun, it was undeniable that this person was an outstanding existence among the younger generation. What's more, with Shu Yu's guidance, Jun Lingxuan's recent cultivation speed was extremely fast. He had never looked down on anyone. A scholar who had been away for 3 days should be looked at with new eyes. They hadn't seen each other for such a long time. Jun Lingxuan had suffered such a huge blow that he might have put away his previous arrogance. All of this was very likely, and he could not lose. Chapter 5720. Shu Yu's appearance was no different from a huge mountain pressing down on everyone's hearts. Everyone was worried that this person's appearance would bring about changes. Not only Di Beichen, but also Di Yujue could feel Di Yujue's worry when he first talked to Di Yujue. Bailey Hongzhuang knew Di Beichen very well. Although he never revealed anything on the surface, it was obvious that he had remembered everything in his heart. To him, there was no doubt about the importance of his family. He did not want any changes that could threaten his family's safety, so he would definitely think of a way to solve all of this. However, Shu Yu's strength was just too strong. At least for now, they were no match for him at all. Regarding this, she felt very helpless. Even if they had thought of a way, at least for now, there was no effective way. When the two of them returned to the tent, when Xiren and the rest opened their eyes. Hongzhuang, the vitality here is the vitality of heaven and earth. It is the source of energy that cultivators need. It is purer and more condensed than the vitality that we normally absorb. We must grab this good opportunity to absorb more vitality to strengthen our cultivation. Linger's voice was filled with surprise. Vitality of heaven and earth? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. It was her first time hearing this term. Ling nodded slightly. The vitality of heaven and earth is the purest form of vitality. It is very suitable for cultivators. The vitality that we normally absorb is derived from the vitality of heaven and earth. However, regardless of purity or concentration, it cannot be compared to the vitality of heaven and earth. The upper realm basically does not have the vitality of heaven and earth. This is a great supplement for cultivators. This also means that this ancient battlefield is probably a very strong existence. Hearing Linger's words, everyone had a higher opinion of this ancient battlefield. Then wouldn't this ancient battlefield be too strong? It's not a place that we can enter at all? Shengguan Yingying asked worriedly. Ling shook her head. This is an abandoned ancient battlefield. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be too much of a problem. However, we still have to be careful when we enter. Since this is a rare opportunity, let's not waste any more time and cultivate. Bailey Hongzhuang stopped the topic. No matter how dangerous the ancient battlefield was, since they were already here, they would not give up the opportunity to enter. Now that they were all Nebula Stage 9, they clearly remembered Granny Hua's warning. The most important thing now was to suppress his cultivation level. The more essence force he accumulated, the stronger his strength would become after breaking through. If it was any other day, this process would definitely be extremely long. But now, with the heaven and earth Yuan Qi, this process could be greatly shortened. It was truly a heaven-sent opportunity. As soon as Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, everyone stopped talking and went into closed-door cultivation. Not only the D family, but almost everyone who came was unwilling to give up such a good opportunity to cultivate. Every second wasted was a second wasted. Therefore, other than a few cultivators who had just arrived, everyone immediately went into closed-door cultivation after settling down. After the great elder settled everyone down, he did not give up on this great opportunity. His cultivation level had not increased for a long time. Perhaps he could take advantage of this opportunity to increase it. Chapter 57:21. This news caused the leaders of the various forces to become restless. Although their cultivation levels were high, it was also because of this that it was even more difficult for them to break through. Where else could they find such a good opportunity on a normal day? Instantly, many of the leaders of the forces disguised themselves and arrived near the ancient battlefield. After the first person appeared, many more people appeared one after another. Although they had disguised themselves, they were still recognized. However, no one exposed them. After all, everyone had a tacit understanding of their purpose of coming here. Bailey Hongzhuang concocted some medicine and everyone simply soaked in the medicinal bath to cultivate. On one side was the heaven and earth Yuan Qi, and on the other side was the pure medicinal power. Under the influence of these two factors, everyone improved tremendously every day. However, even if they felt the barrier to breaking through, no one tried to break through. Instead, they suppressed it. This was the time to accumulate. Only by accumulating more would one be able to reap greater rewards. Compared to the various forces, the number of breakthroughs in the mercenary guild's encampment was higher every day. Cultivators of various cultivation levels gathered in the mercenary guild. Some of them even broke through 3 levels in a short period of time. Such a harvest was truly a pleasant surprise. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were engrossed in their cultivation. During this process, they naturally noticed the movements of the other cultivators. However, among the cultivators they were familiar with, they had not heard of anyone breaking through to the Radiant Moon realm. I wonder if the other cultivators also know to suppress their breakthroughs? Bai Li Yanche was puzzled when he realized that no one had broken through to the Radiant Moon realm after such a long time. Perhaps. Mo Yunjue pondered. The Radiant Moon realm is more difficult to break through than the other realms. Others don't know, but I believe that Xiao Sou and Jun Lingshuan definitely know. Bailey Hongzhuang looked certain. Since Xu Yu went to the crossing immortal territory, the cultivators he met were naturally extremely powerful. I'm afraid he already knew about this. Di Beichen nodded slightly. He agreed with Bailey Hongzhuang's opinion. I asked my father before. Perhaps the immortal territory and the upper realm have not been in contact for a long time, so many people in the upper realm are not clear about this. My father doesn't know about this. He just broke through to the radiant moon realm as usual. Beichen, where is the immortal territory you're talking about? Di Xiaofeng looked at Beichen in confusion. Why did he feel that Beichen and the rest seemed to know many things he did not know? It's a higher existence. Di Beichen smiled faintly. However, we are not very clear about that place. We only know that Shu Yu has been to the crossing immortal domain, so she knows more about cultivation than us. Di Xiaofeng sighed. Originally, the Xiao family and the Jun family were no longer a threat to us, but since this person appeared, things have become a lot more troublesome. I wonder why Shu Yu would help them. However, no matter what, we cannot allow him to affect the Di clan. Di Beichen's Di Xiaofeng. He would not let go of anyone who affected his family, even if the opponent was far more powerful than they imagined. Di Xiaofeng looked at Di Beichen quietly. Suddenly, his lips curled into a dazzling smile. Chapter 57:22. Hearing the word immortal, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and laughed involuntarily. Shu Yu had only gone to the immortal domain and had yet to become a cultivator of the immortal domain. She was indeed not an immortal. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. In these 2 months, the number of cultivators that gathered in Western Desert City could be said to have increased. Previously, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived, the entrance of the ancient battlefield was already filled with cultivators. Now, the number of cultivators was constantly increasing. Even the edge of the desert was surrounded by cultivators. Although the further back one's position was, the weaker the concentration of origin qi would be, it was still better than the usual cultivation environment. Therefore, everyone still flocked to this place and enjoyed it. Master, I feel the opportunity to break through again. After Jun Lingxuan felt the barrier to breaking through to the radiant moon realm, he couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Until now, he hadn't felt any other familiar peers breaking through to the radiant moon realm. If he could break through first, he would definitely be in the limelight. On this point, he could directly suppress Di Beichen and Di Xiaofeng. Shu Yu looked at Jun Lingxuan's happy appearance and shook her head. Don't be in a hurry to break through for now. Accumulate more. After breaking through, you'll be even stronger. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan frowned. Master, I already felt the opportunity to break through a while ago. You told me to accumulate, so I've been accumulating. Now that I've felt it for the second time, can I break through? Ling Sun, don't be anxious about breaking through. Accumulating more is good for you. Master won't lie to you. Shu Yu's expression was indifferent, as if she didn't see Jun Lingxuan's anxiousness. Master, I heard that Nangong Yuqing is already at Nebula rank 9. If he breaks through to the radiant moon realm first, then Ling Sun's limelight will be stolen. What's more, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation talent isn't weak. Who knows when they might break through first? Xiao Suo couldn't help but say. During this period of time, they had been suppressed by Di Beichen in every way, and all the limelight had been stolen by them. She only hoped to turn the tables around as soon as possible. If they break through, then let them break through. What's the problem? Shu Yu's expression was mild. Do you want temporary glory or long-term benefits? I've already told you before that you can't be too hasty in everything. The best outcome is when the conditions are right. In short, my opinion is not to break through, but to accumulate more. If you don't listen, I won't stop you. Looking at Shu Yu's back, Xiao Suo and Jun Lingxuan looked at each other helplessly. I really don't understand. It's not easy to get this kind of opportunity. Why does Master always have such an attitude? Jun Lingxuan sighed. He used to be so glorious, but he had already fallen many times because of Di Beichen. This time, he really wanted to turn the tables, but he couldn't offend his master. I see that Di Beichen and the others haven't broken through. Ling Sun, don't be too anxious. Xiao Suo comforted. Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. We've already lost for so long. This time, we can't lose again. We definitely won't lose. This is the second time you've sensed the opportunity to break through. Di Beichen and the others haven't broken through yet. It's clear that they can't compare to you. Chapter 57:23. When Bailey Hongzhuang sensed the opportunity to break through, she immediately stopped cultivating. If she continued, she wouldn't be able to control the energy in her body and break through the barrier. Noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's movements, Bewitching chuckled, about to break through? Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I suddenly understand what Zhongli Mu said earlier. He broke through unknowingly while sleeping, so he really can't suppress it. Zhongli Mu had previously told everyone about his breakthrough. Because Zhongli Mu had asked him to suppress it, he had been suppressing it. However, as he accumulated more and more energy, the opportunity to break through kept appearing. Even the slightest bit of carelessness could lead to a breakthrough. Under such circumstances, he didn't even dare to sleep, afraid that he would break through. Until one day, because he hadn't slept for a long time, he was too sleepy and broke through after taking a nap. That's why Zhongli Mu's strength is so abnormal. Ziren shook his head. Their confidence was nothing in front of Zhongli Mu. Just as everyone was talking, the aura of a breakthrough suddenly came. Everyone walked out of their tents after sensing the aura. They could sense that it came from an aristocratic family's tent, but they didn't know which one it was. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked out of their tents, they saw the Great Elder standing outside and looking in the direction of the aura. Great Elder who broke through. This aura comes from the Nangong family. It should be Nangong Yuqing breaking through to the Radiant Moon realm. The Great Elder looked into the distance and sighed. So it's Nangong Yuqing. Bewitching didn't find it strange. After all, Nangong Yuqing wasn't weak. Back then, when he pursued Xiao Sou, he had many conflicts with them. However, ever since he brought Nangong Xiaolong back, they hadn't heard any news about him. This guy actually broke through to the Radiant Moon realm. It seems that his progress isn't small. Mo Yunjue said indifferently. Just as they were talking, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou came out of their tents. Nangong Yuqing really broke through. Jun Lingxuan sighed. In the end, he wasn't the first to break through. Xiao Sou comforted him. Lingxuan, it's good that we understand. I believe that Master has his reasons. I hope so. Jun Lingxun turned his head and found that Di Beichen and the others were looking at him. He immediately restrained the sadness on his face and restored his usual arrogance. Di Beichen, do you feel envious to see Nangong Yuqing have you broken through? Your cultivation's slow. I think you're the one who's be disappointed. Di Beichen smiled. In any case, my cultivation's already lagging behind, so it doesn't matter. Besides, strength and cultivation aren't completely proportional. Jun Lingxuan snorted, you're just talking big. We'll see who's the real deal when we enter the ancient battlefield. I hope you won't lose your life before you see us. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows and walked into the tent. The Nangong family's cultivators were undoubtedly full of glory. Their young master was the first to break through and stole the limelight from the other family's younger generation. Chapter 57:24. Father and the rest didn't come for such a good opportunity? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the Great Elder. It was a pity to miss such a good opportunity. Looking at the look of pity on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, the Great Elder smiled and said, actually, the Master and the rest are already here. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. Their eyes flashed with a strong sense of surprise. Is that true? Of course it's true. Then why didn't we see them? The Great Elder sighed. All the major forces have agreed that the younger generation will explore the ancient battlefield. It's naturally inappropriate for the elders to come here. However, many leaders of the forces have come, but they have disguised themselves and did not enter the base of their respective families. The current situation is considered to be unspoken. Hearing that, everyone finally understood. They had not expected the leaders of the forces to be so interesting. They had formed such an interesting unwritten rule in such a short period of time. Great Elder, it's a pity to miss such a good opportunity. Why didn't the Master and the rest go in? When Ziren asked curiously. If the Master had gone in, he would have reaped a greater harvest than them. Looking at the confused crowd, the Great Elder smiled and explained, if the Master went in, he would have reaped a greater harvest, but the risk would be great as well. Moreover, the younger generation has to be given space to grow. Only with enough experience and opportunities can they become stronger. Actually, the master and the rest had gone through this in the past. I was too naive, Yizichin said. When Xiren was enlightened, he had only thought about the benefits and had not considered anything else. The younger generation was an extremely precious resource for the family. However, if anything happened to the master, it would be a huge blow to the family. Thinking about it, all the major forces had been doing this for the past few years. The restriction is much fainter than before. I believe it won't be long before it completely disappears. The great elder reminded everyone. Everyone, I estimate that it will take about 7 days. Continue to cultivate first. When it's about time, I'll inform you. Everyone nodded. Once they entered the ancient battlefield, it would be the time for the younger generation of the major forces to compete. Before entering, even if one's cultivation increased by a little, their chances of survival would increase by a little. With that, the first elder walked out of the tent with a helpless look on his face. Nangong Yuqing had already broken through to the Radiant Moon realm, but the young master and the great young master had not. If they entered the ancient battlefield, they would be at a disadvantage. The great young master and Nangong Yuqing had formed a grudge during the previous trip to the immortal cloud realm. If they met in the ancient battlefield, they would inevitably fight. He was very clear about the difference between the Nebula tier and the Radiant Moon tier. It might seem like it was only one level, but the difference between the two was far more than just one level. I hope he can make a breakthrough in 7 days. The great elder prayed. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't know what the great elder was thinking. Right now, no one was planning to break through. Their idea was to be like Zhongli Mu and break through naturally. It would be more beneficial for them in the future. Everyone could feel that the restriction was about to disappear. This kind of cultivation opportunity would most likely not appear again in the future. Therefore, in the remaining few days, everyone cultivated in silence for fear of delaying the advancement of their cultivation. Chapter 57:25. Not because of anything else, but because of the noisy discussion coming from outside. It seems that the seal is about to dissipate, Bewitching said in a low voice. Everyone walked out of the tent and looked at the entrance. The fog was as hazy as before, blocking everyone's vision. They couldn't see the front with their naked eyes. They knew that the seal was about to dissipate because of their mental strength. The power that had been lingering at the entrance had weakened a lot and was faintly dissipating. When the great elder saw that everyone had come out, he said, "Young master, I'm afraid that the seal will dissipate in another 4 hours. You have to be prepared. We'll be going in soon." Bewitching nodded slightly. His chiseled face was solemn and serious. "Great elder, don't worry. We're already prepared and can set off at any time." Perhaps it was because they were about to enter the ancient battlefield, many cultivators couldn't cultivate in peace. The surroundings became noisy and lively. Xiaofeng. Murong Jing's figure appeared in front of everyone. "I knew that you were cultivating, so I didn't disturb you. We'll be entering the ancient battlefield soon, and we'll have to fight side by side again." Seeing Murong Jing, Xiaofeng smiled heartily and warmly. "You and I have fought side by side since we were young. We can't underestimate the ancient battlefield this time. Although the situation isn't clear, everyone is sure that the danger level inside is higher than what we've experienced before. So, we have to be careful when we enter. We're all people who cherish our lives. We don't know what's going to happen after we enter. It's safer for us to meet up as soon as possible." Xiaofeng nodded. There were so many rumors before they even entered. It was clear how dangerous it was. In his opinion, the treasure was secondary. Protecting his life was the most important. Murong Jing was relieved when he saw that Xiaofeng understood the situation. He didn't stay any longer. All the major forces had already kept their tents and were waiting to enter the ancient battlefield later. "Young master, great master, the patriarch said that everything else isn't important as long as you return safely. Moreover, Xiao Sou and Jun Lingshuan probably learned some tricks from Shuyu. The patriarch said that you shouldn't underestimate the enemy." The great elder's expression was serious, but his eyes were filled with worry. Now that they were about to enter, and none of the young masters and the others had broken through to the radiant moon realm, he could not help but feel worried. We understand. Bewitching nodded and turned his gaze slightly. However, he found that among the troops that were beginning to retreat behind him, a familiar gaze had fallen on him. It was a face she had never seen before, but the gaze was warm and familiar. The other party nodded at Bewitching, and Bewitching responded indifferently. He knew that it was Diyu Jue in disguise. Before they left, his father was still worried about them. Bailey Hongzhuang followed Bewitching's gaze and also noticed the figure. Whether it was her height or her appearance, she was completely different from her usual self, but she was still recognizable at first glance. Diyu Jue's lips curled into a smile before he turned and left. Not only Diyu Jue, but the leaders of the major forces also left quietly. If they didn't leave now, it would be awkward for them to stay here and look at each other when the juniors entered the ancient battlefield later. Chapter 57-26. Soon after, the restriction completely dissipated under everyone's waiting. Do you feel it? The prohibition has disappeared completely. We can go in now. After waiting for so long, it has finally disappeared. But who will go in first? Even though they had sensed the disappearance of the restriction, their hearts were still pounding. The ancient battlefield was simply too mysterious to them. When Bewitching and the rest realized this, they were ready to go and slowly approach the entrance. "Young master, we will wait for your return in the family," the great elder said sincerely as he glanced at the cultivators in the D family. Bewitching nodded. "Don't worry, I will bring everyone back safely. Take care." Just as everyone was in a dilemma, someone had already entered the ancient battlefield. As the first person entered, the other cultivators rushed in without hesitation and threw the so-called risk to the back of their minds. Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan also prepared to leave at the first moment, and before leaving, Shu Yu couldn't help but remind them. After entering the ancient battlefield, if you don't encounter any danger, there is no need to rush to break through. Suppressing your cultivation will be beneficial to you. However, if you encounter any danger, you can break through if you really can't. "Yes, master." "You must return safely." Shu Yu nodded and waved for the two of them to leave. Jun Lingxuan did not delay and immediately led his own team into the ancient battlefield with Xiao Sou. When Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes, there was a foggy world in front of her. White fog filled her eyes, and in an instant, it was as if there was only white left in the world. The air was filled with the smell of blood, and Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but frown. The ancient battlefield should have appeared for a long time. Why is there still such a strong smell of blood? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. However, there was no response to her voice. "Bewitching, are you not here? Bewitching?" After shouting a few times without receiving any response, Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood. It seemed that they had been separated when they came in. "Master, this place is so strange. There is only white fog as far as the eye can see. I can't see anything clearly at all." Xiao He looked puzzled. They had been to such places before, but even though the visibility was low, they could still see clearly within a meter. Right now, they couldn't see anything at all. If there was any danger, they wouldn't even be able to react in time. Bailey Hongzhuang's face darkened. The ancient battlefield is not like the immortal cloud mystic realm. Many people have already entered it. This is the first time it has appeared. No one knows what is going on inside. If it's a dangerous place, wouldn't it be possible for all of us to be wiped out? Xiao He no longer had the joking expression from before. Such a consequence was not something they could bear. "First, we have to figure out where the smell of blood came from. Is it from before or now?" Bailey Hongzhuang said in a deep voice. Even though the situation in front of her made her feel helpless, Bailey Hongzhuang forced herself to calm down. She had no other choice now. If she did not calm down, she might not even be able to keep her life. Closing her eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang tried to use her mental energy to sense everything around her. However, there was a mysterious power in the fog that prevented her mental energy from penetrating it. Chapter 57-27. Master, my mental strength is unable to leave my body and I can't sense the situation around me. There was a rare nervousness in the young voice. Xiao He, who was usually undisciplined, could also feel the pressure brought about by the unknown environment. The feeling of not being able to see anything and not being able to hear anything was too overwhelming. Me too. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. This situation was beyond their expectations. I wonder if the others are in the same situation as us. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. If everyone was in the same situation, there wouldn't be any progress for the entire day. However, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that they didn't know if there were any other living creatures in the ancient battlefield. If they were to attack, it would be dangerous. The faint smell of blood lingered in their nostrils. This feeling made them feel extremely uncomfortable. Xiao He, can you sense any demonic beasts nearby? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao He had always been very sensitive towards other demonic beasts. Not really. Xiao He replied. Master, I keep having the feeling that we're standing in the center of the battlefield and not the periphery. The ancient battlefield was so big that it was impossible for every place to be a battle zone. However, the smell of blood lingered around them and there weren't any screams. Obviously, this was the biggest possibility. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I have the same thoughts as you. Moreover, I can vaguely sense a strong aura around us. It's a pity that I can't see anything clearly. Master, since there's no other way, let's not be anxious. I believe that this fog will disperse eventually. Otherwise, won't we all be unable to walk out? Xiao He comforted Bailey Hongzhuang. The current situation made them feel helpless. However, they definitely couldn't let this helplessness grow. It would be very easy for them to collapse. Hearing Xiao He's comforting words, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and stroked its furry head. It's rare for you to comfort me. Of course. Xiao He changed its usual joking expression. It grew bigger and leaned against Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, don't be afraid. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart seemed to soften in an instant when she felt the furry warmth beside her. Usually, Xiao He was always making a fuss and was a clown. It was rare for her to be so heartwarming. However, she always knew how important she was to Xiao He. Don't be afraid, we will definitely be able to get out of here. Bailey Hongzhuang hugged Xiao He and said, the vital energy here is very dense, even denser than when we were in the outside world. If you don't know where to go, you might as well cultivate here first. However, it's filled with a murderous aura. I'll have to pay more attention to it when I cultivate. When Xiao He saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was so calm, she felt relieved. All right, let's wait and see when this fog will disperse. After making their decision, the human and beast sat down on the spot and began to cultivate peacefully. At the same time, many cultivators who had entered the ancient battlefield were in a daze. This was especially so for those who had been separated from others by a mysterious force. They were left alone and could not see the situation clearly. Chapter 57:28. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He calmed down and focused on their cultivation, the fear and worry in their hearts gradually dissipated. However, the smell of blood that constantly wafted into their nostrils reminded them that this place was filled with the strange language and was not safe. Night slowly fell and a thick darkness enveloped the entire world. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes and saw an endless darkness. It was as if she had become blind and could not see anything. This fog is strange. It seems to have turned into a black fog at night. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. It seems that the two of us can only accept our fate. Master, it's fortunate that the two of us are still together. Think about those cultivators who appeared here alone. That's really terrible. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and could not help but ponder. I don't know if Ling and Yen Che can find us. However, I can't sense their auras nearby. I'm afraid that they are very far away. She, Yen Che, and Ling were telepathic. Generally speaking, as long as they were not too far away, they would be able to sense them. However, she could not sense them at all. The size of this ancient battlefield may be beyond our imagination. There's no sound at all nearby. Xiao He looked defeated. I've never seen such a unique place. I believe that there will be a way. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed inwardly. The number of cultivators who had entered this time was unprecedented. Even so, there was not a single person in the surrounding area. If the cultivators from the mercenary guild had not entered and only the outstanding disciples from the various large organizations had entered, it would have been even more difficult to meet them here. Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and continued to cultivate. However, she had just started cultivating when she felt a strange energy invading her body along with her elemental energy. This energy was contained within her elemental energy. If she was not sensitive enough, she would not be able to detect it immediately. Xiaohei, stop cultivating for now. Master, what's wrong? Xiaohei opened her eyes when she heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Her voice was filled with confusion. Don't you realize that the elemental energy we cultivate now is different from when we cultivate during the day? Now that you mention it, I do feel that something is wrong. However, I can't pinpoint exactly what is wrong. Xiaohei scratched her head. After the sky turned dark, there seemed to be some changes. However, I can't sense anything different. There's a special energy that has combined with the elemental energy. Although I don't know what it is, I feel that cultivating like this is not beneficial to us. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were serious. If some strange power accidentally entered her body, it would be difficult to get it out. It's not in the day but at night. While thinking, the power of light in Bailey Hongzhuang's body suddenly spread out. The rich power of light was dazzling and bright, illuminating the black fog in front of her. With this, Bailey Hongzhuang found that the fog in front of her was indeed different. During the day, the fog was pure white. Now, although the fog was also white, it was mixed with a trace of black. It was obvious that this trace of black was not the power of darkness. Most importantly, she realized that the black in the surrounding fog was gradually dissipating after she used the power of light. Xiaohei, see if cultivating now is the same as cultivating during the day? Chapter 5729. Xiaohei noticed the difference after this round of cultivation. Master, there's no difference between now and during the day. It's so strange. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. She understood after seeing the changes in the fog. If I'm not wrong, this black energy should be resentment or something like that. Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment before saying, this is an ancient battlefield. Although you can't see it just from the smell of blood, you can guess that the number of cultivators who died here must be a lot. So many cultivators have perished here and such a thick murderous aura has gathered here. It's not strange for such a situation to occur. If one cultivator had perished, the resentment might not be that serious. However, when a large number of cultivators had perished, the power gathered together would be extremely huge. I see. No wonder there wasn't such a situation during the day. Master, your light energy can eliminate this. Then we can cultivate at night. That's right. The vital energy here is so dense. If most cultivators can't cultivate at night, then this is a good opportunity to improve their cultivation. Unknowingly, a month had passed. During this period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang gradually realized that the surrounding fog had become thinner. If this situation continues, we should be able to see the situation under our feet clearly in a few days' time. That's right, under their feet. Actually, they could not see anything at all. They could not even see the situation under their feet clearly. Xiaohei nodded happily. As long as we can see a little more clearly, we can go and look for everyone. They had been staying here for a while and there was no sound around them. This made the lively Xiaohei feel extremely uncomfortable. Hold on for a few more days and we can set off. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiaohei were conversing, a sudden breeze blew past. This was the first time Bailey Hongzhuang had felt wind since they had entered the ancient battlefield. Everything here seemed to be forbidden. Besides the difference between day and night, there was no movement at all. Even the wind had not appeared. As the wind blew past, the thick fog was blown away by the wind. With Bailey Hongzhuang as the witness, everything in front of her became clear. She could see the blue sky and white clouds. She was freed from her blind state. Master, we can see. Xiaohei was pleasantly surprised. This wind is so magical. It is indeed magical. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was a little stiff. the situation here? Sensing that her master's voice was different from usual, Xiaohei asked suspiciously, "Master, what's wrong?" Ah. After asking this question, Xiaohei could see everything clearly. Corpses. Corpses were strewn all over the ground. These corpses were all wearing armor and holding weapons. It was just like a tragic scene after a battle. It was shocking. Even though they had expected such a tragic scene to occur in the ancient battlefield, they had never expected that they would stay in the middle of the battlefield for such a long time. It was no wonder the smell of the blood. It was no wonder that they could feel the attack of an endless amount of resentment when they were cultivating. It was no wonder that they could feel a strong pressure around them. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang understood everything. Chapter 5730. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the blood-stained ground. Even though these people were dead, they still exuded an extremely powerful aura. She was certain that this battle had taken place a long time ago, but these people's corpses had not decayed. They still looked the same as before, as if something had just happened. She had once heard Granny Hua say that when a cultivator's strength reached a certain level, they would be able to preserve their physical body from decaying. Obviously, these people had already cultivated to this level. If I'm not wrong, these people should be from the immortal domain, right? Bailey Hongzhuang's face showed a thoughtful expression. The cultivators from the upper realm can't reach this level of cultivation. Xiaohei was shocked. Doesn't that mean that everyone here can do whatever they want in the upper realm? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. That's right. These people are very strong. However, everyone in the immortal region has this level of cultivation, so they can't be considered much. I suddenly understand why this world is divided into so many planes. If they were merged together, the people at the bottom would not even be able to control their own lives. If the people from the immortal region came here, then the entire upper realm would be suppressed. Even the great aristocratic families would not be able to live as leisurely as they were now. Master, don't think so much. This place looks very strange. Let's go first. Xiaohei looked around. As a demonic beast, she had seen many battles. Even so, she could not help but feel apprehensive when she looked at the scene before her. What if someone was still alive here? Wouldn't they be done for? All right. Bailey Hongzhuang replied. She stood there without fear, only respect in her heart. After all, these were all powerful seniors. After seeing this scene, she understood more and more that the immortal region was far more powerful than they had imagined. Just as the two of them were walking forward, Xiaohei suddenly noticed a storage ring in front of her. Master, there's a storage ring there. I'm sure the cultivators from the immortal region must have many treasures on them. Xiaohei's eyes lit up, and she reached out to grab the ring. Be careful. Before Bailey Hongzhuang could remind her, Xiaohei had already retracted her hand at lightning speed. She looked at the storage ring on the ground with lingering fear and said in shock, "It's too scary." The cultivation of the experts of the immortal domain is much higher than ours. Although they are already dead, the restriction on this storage ring has not dissipated. With our cultivation, we won't be able to open this barrier at all. Most importantly, it's very likely that we'll be heavily injured by the remnant consciousness it emits. Xiaohei nodded. Before I could even touch the ring, a powerful force had already attacked me. It's really terrifying. Everything here isn't something we can touch. It's better for us to leave obediently. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. How could she not be tempted? Not only were the storage rings scattered on the ground, but even the weapons were top-notch divine weapons. If he could bring them back, the strength of the clan would definitely increase by quite a bit. Unfortunately, when she had sensed the difference in power between them, she knew that she would not be able to bring them back. Xiaohei turned to look at her surroundings. She had been so shocked that she had not paid much attention to her surroundings. Now that she had taken a closer look, she realized that there were so many treasures scattered on the ground. Chapter 5731. Don't think about it, these are not things that we can touch. Let's hurry up and leave. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm. She knew very well that she should not think too much about things that did not belong to her. Her little life was the most important thing. Forget about them, even the master would not be able to take away the things here. Furthermore, these things had been affected by resentment and blood over the years and were no longer as pure as before. If they were to lose their little lives because of this, it would not be worth it at all. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao He nodded helplessly. It had always been a money grubber. Seeing that it had missed out on so many treasures, it was heartbroken. Noticing Xiao He's heartbroken look, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but chuckle. This fellow had been a money grubber ever since she had first met it. It had not changed at all even after such a long time. The woman and the beast walked forward. This battlefield was huge and the number of cultivators who had died here was even more shocking. As they walked, they tried their best to avoid it. After leaving the battlefield, Bailey Hongzhuang stopped. She respectfully bowed to the front. "Seniors, I have offended you before. I hope that the seniors will forgive me." They had stayed here for an entire month. Now that they thought about it, their hearts were filled with lingering fear. Just thinking about it was enough to make them shiver. If they were timid, they would have vomited on the spot. "Master, where should we go now?" Xiao He looked around and saw a vast and boundless grassland. The battlefield was extremely spacious and their field of vision was extremely wide as well. It was obvious that there were no other cultivators near them. Bailey Hongzhuang paused and her bright pitch-black eyes flickered with a light of deep thought. "Let's walk in this direction first. When we meet other cultivators, we'll be able to understand the situation here better." At this moment, she did not have any understanding of the ancient battlefield. Even though she had been here for a month, it was as if she had just arrived today. In the past, when she was in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, she was always worried that she would encounter other cultivators and cause conflicts. However, now that she was here, she really hoped that she would be able to meet other cultivators as soon as possible. There were no living creatures in the surroundings, and there was an indescribable feeling everywhere. It was really unsettling. Xiao He did not have any objections to this. In its opinion, it was the same no matter which direction they went. As long as he could reunite with everyone as soon as possible, that would be the best. A man and a beast walked on the grass. The sun shone on their bodies, casting long shadows on their backs. At the same time, the situation of the other cultivators who had entered the ancient battlefield was similar. Bewitching and Xiao Bai walked forward. There was nothing but grass in sight. "This place is really strange. The fog didn't disperse earlier, but now it's gone." Xiao Bai sighed. Bewitching nodded. "I also feel that this place is different from the secret realms that we've been to before. It's a little bit creepier. Let's not talk about anything else. The most important thing now is to find Hongzhuang. I really don't understand why these places always move in and scatter everyone." Little White sighed. This kind of situation really made people feel helpless. Chapter 5732. After seeing the incomparably shocking battlefield, this feeling lingered in his heart. There was an indescribable strangeness everywhere. His father's previous judgment was correct. The danger level of this place was indeed much higher than before. Most importantly, even if he saw many treasures, he could not get his hands on them at all. The cultivators who had died were too terrifying. They were unimaginably powerful. He was almost certain that many cultivators would be at a disadvantage in this matter. If they were not careful, they would lose their lives here. I wonder if the souls of these cultivators still exist after they died. If they still exist, wouldn't it be easy for the cultivators who came in to be possessed? This was the question that had been lingering in his heart since he walked out of the battlefield. Possession was a technique used by some powerhouses. By devouring the other party's soul, they could occupy the other party's body and survive in another way. With the cultivation of these powerhouses, the cultivators in the upper realm could not resist at all. Most importantly, if these people succeeded in seizing his body, then the upper realm would probably be turned upside down. Back then, only 2 cultivators entered the lower realm and almost caused a catastrophe. If so many powerhouses suddenly appeared in the upper realm, the scene was simply unimaginable. At this moment, he felt that the ancient battlefield's appearance was not a good thing. On the contrary, it was full of danger. Xiao Bai naturally understood Bewitching's concern. It also had its own concerns about this. Master, I feel that this battlefield has existed for a very long time. Even the soul of an expert will gradually wither away without a vessel. The possibility of such a thing happening should be relatively small. I hope so. Bewitching sighed. How could he not know this? However, he could not help but be worried. I don't understand. Why would the entrance to the Immortal Region's battlefield appear in the upper realm? This was what he could not figure out the most. I don't know. Xiaobai shook its head. Master, since these people are so powerful, we can't get anything at all. On one hand, they entered the ancient battlefield to explore. On the other hand, they hoped to gain something. However, they did see many treasures, but they could not take them. Since the cultivators here all came from the celestial realm, it was clear that they wouldn't be able to obtain all the treasures here. Wouldn't that be a waste of time? Now that we're in, even finding the exit is extremely difficult. We can only continue forward. In fact, just as Bewitching had guessed, many cultivators had lost their lives while fighting for the treasures. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He walked for a day and a night, the murderous aura finally weakened a little. In fact, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't have been able to withstand the killing intent if it weren't for her blood chi field and killing chi field. The murderous aura that had been formed over the years was simply too fierce and overbearing. If one stayed there for too long, one's mind would be affected. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang was of the light attribute, and her light energy was able to disperse this influence. Otherwise, if an ordinary person were to cultivate there for a month, they would definitely leave behind problems. The killing intent is finally fading. Earlier, I felt that my body was stiff. Now, I feel much better. Chapter 57:33. 3 days later, the scenery in front of them finally changed. In front of them was a lush forest. However, there were no animals here. It was as if everything was still. Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He ate their rations as they walked. The area here was extraordinarily large. It took them such a long time to walk through just a patch of grass. Most importantly, until now, they had not met a single person. It's so strange here. There aren't any living things here. Xiao He could not help but say, I used to worry that there would be demonic beasts in the forest. I don't have to worry here, but I'm looking forward to seeing a living thing. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Her thoughts were the same as Xiao He's. This situation was just too strange. Since so many people have come this time, we'll definitely meet others if we keep walking. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed a patch of dazzling red in front of them. It was reflecting a bright and resplendent light under the sunlight. What's that? Bailey Hongzhuang looked in front of her suspiciously. A patch of red appeared on the ground. It was obviously not blood. Xiao He's eyes lit up. Master, let's go and take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She immediately increased her speed and rushed forward. Wow! Xiao He looked at everything in front of her and could not help but cry out in surprise. Pieces of crystals appeared on the ground. The crystals were red in color and shone brightly under the sunlight. They were as dazzling as rubies. It's so beautiful! The stones on the ground were sparkling. Xiao He's eyes were also sparkling. It was just too beautiful. It was like a work of art. One look and one would like it. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the red crystals in front of her. She was also stunned for a moment. This time, neither she nor Xiao He immediately reached out to take them. The previous situation had already taught them a lesson. Bailey Hongzhuang squatted down and carefully examined the crystals on the ground. She could feel an extremely dense and pure power emanating from the golden stone. After thinking for a moment, she stretched out her hand. Master, Xiao He could not help but call out. Bailey Hongzhuang picked up the crystal, and the situation she was worried about did not happen, so she was relieved. Xiao He, this seems to be a spirit stone. Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. She was very familiar with spirit stones. He often used spirit stones for his daily cultivation, but the blood spirit stone in his hand was purer and denser than the one he used for his daily cultivation. Even a high-grade spirit stone would not be able to compare to it. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao He also picked up the blood spirit stone. After carefully sensing it, she said in surprise, "That's right, this should be a spirit stone. I didn't expect there to be such a spirit stone above high-grade spirit stones. If I use this spirit stone to cultivate, my cultivation speed will be much faster." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes rippled with joy. This was probably their biggest gain since coming here. "But Master, why are these spirit stones red?" Xiao He was puzzled. She could not help but think of the previous battle. Could these spirit stones have been stained red by blood? Xiao He could not help but tremble when she thought of this. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head with certainty. These spirit stones were not stained red by blood. They were originally like this. Chapter 5734. Upon hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's affirmation, Xiao He's expression relaxed a little. Ever since she had arrived at this strange ancient battlefield, she had a different view of the color red. If these spirit stones were really related to fresh blood, even if the effects were extremely good, she could not help but feel a knot in her heart. In that case, these are all treasures that can help with cultivation. Xiao He's interest was immediately piqued. They had been in the ancient battlefield for an entire month. In this 1 month, not only had they not gained anything, they had also stayed in that unbelievable environment for an entire month. If they did not have anything to encourage them, they would not be able to go on. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. "Let's quickly keep these blood spirit stones. If other cultivators come, there might be a fight." However, when Bailey Hongzhuang said this, Xiao He could not wait to start moving. As a money grubber, her hands and feet were the fastest at times like this. In the process of picking up the blood spirit stones, Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked to find that the spirit stones that she had seen earlier were only the parts that were exposed. There were even more blood spirit stones buried underground. Heavens, there are actually so many blood spirit stones here. Could this be a spirit stone mine? Xiao He's face was full of shock, but the corners of her lips could not help but curl up. "Master, does this mean that we've struck gold?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. "If we use these spirit stones to cultivate, our cultivation speed will be much faster than before. If we really find a spirit stone mine, we might as well bring all these things back." "Master, you're very greedy too." Xiao He teased, but her hands moved faster and faster. With so many spirit stones, it was obvious that they would not be able to collect them all in a short period of time. In order to avoid any possible risks, it was best for them to pick up their pace. In the past, one person could eat his fill and the whole family would not go hungry. Now that the situation is different, we have to be greedy. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders. The appearance of the ancient battlefield this time made her feel uneasy. She was most worried that a remnant spirit would take over their body. If such a thing really happened, the entire family would be threatened. Moreover, Shu Yu's appearance had already made them very worried. With these blood spirit stones, although the family head could not immediately catch up to Shu Yu's strength, it could at least shorten the gap between them. As long as there was some resistance, the situation would not become so bad. When the man and the beast were tired, they simply sat on the ground and pretended to be tired. Time gradually passed, but the man and the beast did not feel tired at all. These were treasures that could not be obtained even if one fought for them on a daily basis. Now that they were allowed to pick them up as they pleased, they could only hope that there were as many as possible. After all, there was a limit to the number of blood spirit stones. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He dug up the ground and discovered that there were no more blood spirit stones, they continued to move forward. "Master, do you think there will be blood spirit stones scattered in other places like this?" Xiao He looked at the blood spirit stone in its hand. It could also feel the pure elemental energy within it. Thinking back to the first time it used a high-grade blood spirit stone, its eyes lit up. Pure elemental energy did not need to be purified. It could be absorbed. However, this blood spirit stone did not need to be actively absorbed. The elemental energy would continuously flow into its body and strengthen it. Chapter 5735. Bailey Hongzhuang also held the blood spirit stone and felt that this thing was really mysterious. The demon summoning scripture automatically circulated, and the blood spirit stone's energy continuously flowed into her body. She could clearly feel the spirit energy in her body growing stronger. Now that she was here, everything was a bit strange. Aside from aimlessly looking for others, she didn't know what to do. Now that she had the blood spirit stone, she could cultivate as she walked. Not only was she not wasting time, but her cultivation speed was also faster than if she were to meditate. Master, I feel that if I continue to cultivate like this, I'm afraid I'll break through to the radiant moon realm soon. The spirit energy in this blood spirit stone is very pure. Try to suppress it as much as possible. Granny Hua's words can't be wrong. The last time I saw Jun Lingshuan, I noticed that he was already at the 9th stage nebula realm. After that, Nangong Yuqing broke through, but Jun Lingshuan still hadn't broken through. At that time, I felt that Jun Lingshuan's expression was a bit strange. But now that I think about it, maybe Shu Yu also knew about this, so she had them suppress their breakthrough speed. Her clear black and white eyes rippled with a pondering light. Previously, she hadn't thought about this point, but now that she thought about it, she felt that the possibility was very high. Jun Lingshuan and Xiao So are really lucky to have found such a diligent master. Xiao He angrily said, but I say, this Shu Yu really doesn't have good eyesight. There are so many disciples out there, but she chose the 2 of them. It's their own destiny. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. Speaking of which, they were able to meet Granny Hua and the other seniors. Their destiny was also very good. As they walked, a sound suddenly rang in Bailey Hongzhuang's ears. It was the pleasant sound of string music. It was like the tinkling of spring water, like the flowing of a mountain. In this exceptionally quiet environment, it was abnormally clear. There's a sound in front. Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. After grasping the 4 arts, she had done some research on zither music. This music was so pleasant to the ear, and the person playing it was clearly immersed in it for many years. Master, why is there music all of a sudden? Isn't it a little strange? Xiao He was puzzled. Ever since they entered the ancient battlefield, they had not heard any other sounds other than their own. Now that such a voice had suddenly appeared, it was simply too strange. Indeed, no one should be in the mood to play music here. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. But let's go take a look. What if someone wants to use this music to find someone? Even though the possibility was slim, Bailey Hongzhuang was still unwilling to give up. If other people could also hear this voice, they might take advantage of this opportunity to meet Bewitching. Then let's go and take a look, Xiao He replied. The 2 of them walked in the direction of the music. However, although the music sounded very close, as if it was not far from them, after walking for a long time, the man and the beast still could not find the source of the sound. How far is this sound from us? Why haven't we found it after walking for so long? Xiao He slowed down. It was exhausted after such a long journey. Chapter 5736. Xiao He, I think we shouldn't be in a hurry to find them. Let's just go with the flow and head in that direction. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm. I feel that this sound isn't just calling out to us. Others should have heard it as well. Since that's the case, it's not a bad thing to arrive a little later. We might run into familiar faces. Then, Master, don't you think that the appearance of this sound is very strange? Xiao He asked doubtfully. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. It's very strange indeed. If I'm not wrong, this sound definitely doesn't come from the cultivators who entered this time. They don't have such strength at all. To be able to hear the music so clearly from such a long distance, it must be some senior from the immortal region who hasn't died yet. Or perhaps there's some other treasure that's spreading the sound. In any case, we have to be careful when we get there. If it's an old monster who hasn't died after so many years and stays in a place with such dense elemental energy to cultivate every day, then its cultivation level must be beyond our imagination. A hint of fear flashed across Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. If she didn't want to use this opportunity to meet up with everyone, she really wouldn't be interested in the origin of this sound at all. Even if there were any treasures, it would be too difficult to obtain them. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had already made a judgment in her heart, Xiao He also relaxed. This sound is very special. I wonder where it's coming from. Bai Li Yanche's gaze turned to the endless grassland in front of them. Ling glanced at Bai Li Yanche. Let's follow this sound. Perhaps we can find Hong Zhuang. We've been here for so long, but apart from you, we haven't seen anyone else. You're from the immortal region after all. Do you know anything about this situation? Bai Li Yanche asked. Ling shook her head. Unless I can break through to the Radiant Moon realm and break the seal, I'm afraid I won't be able to remember anything. Actually, it's good that you're like this. We have to put in a lot of effort to suppress it in order to not break through to the Radiant Moon realm. You don't have to worry about that at all, Bai Li Yanche joked with a smile. Linger narrowed her eyes and stared at Bai Li Yanche. Are you asking for a beating? Bai Li Yanche chuckled. My cultivation is no weaker than yours now. Gone are the days when you could bully me one-sidedly. Linger was furious. Just as she was about to flare up, she heard Bai Li Yanche say, You should be more open-minded. Didn't they say that the longer you suppress it, the stronger your combat power will be after you break through? Perhaps this is an opportunity given to you by God. Everything has its own arrangement. You don't have to keep thinking about it. Linger's tightly clenched fists slowly relaxed. Her expression was a little unnatural. She didn't think that the guy who always deserved a beating would suddenly comfort her. She was really not used to it. Stop acting like you know everything. Linger pursed her lips. Let's hurry up and leave. Don't delay any longer. With the help of the Blood Spirit Stone, Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He accumulated their origin power at an extremely fast rate. Bailey Hongzhuang vaguely felt that she wasn't far from Zhongli Mu's cultivation base. Now, she had to stop cultivating every once in a while. Otherwise, she would break through if she wasn't careful. This was the first time the origin power in her body had been so abundant. It was as if it would overflow at any moment. After traveling for 7 days, she finally felt that she was a little closer to this voice. Bang bang bang. Chapter 5737. It seems like someone is fighting? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. After walking for so long, they finally met a living person. Master, we finally met someone. Xiao He was pleasantly surprised. If they did not meet a person soon, they would feel like they were abandoned by the world. The human and the beast immediately sped up and rushed forward. Their footsteps were extremely light to avoid being discovered by the other party. When they got closer, the two of them finally saw the situation in front of them clearly. However, after seeing one of them, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but be shocked. It's Jiang Wenyan. In their line of sight, the three of them were entangled in a fight. The other two were obviously a pair. Jiang Wenyan's cultivation was at Nebula rank 9. What was surprising was that the other two were also at Nebula rank 9. However, Jiang Wenyan's combat power was obviously stronger than the other two. That was why he was able to resist. The two of them were not simple. Even though Jiang Wenyan tried his best to resist, he was still at a disadvantage. Based on the current situation, Jiang Wenyan would be defeated by the two of them soon. Jiang Wenyan, quickly hand over the item. Perhaps we can spare your life, the man said coldly. Jiang Wenyan sneered. Han Bowen, do you think I'm so naive? If I really hand it over to you, I'm afraid I'll die even faster. Han Bowen's face turned cold. He knew that his words were not convincing. So what if you see through it? You'll die by my hands sooner or later. Until the end, who can be sure of the result? Blood flowed from the corner of Jiang Wenyan's lips. His face was extremely pale, but his gaze was still determined. From the moment he entered the ancient battlefield, he was already prepared to die at any time. However, he would do his best. He would not give up until the very end. You're really stubborn. Han Bowen looked at Jiang Wenyan nonchalantly. Putting everything else aside, I admire you. It's a pity that you're still an opponent. Why do you have to say such nonsense? Jiang Wenyan's gaze became cold and ruthless. To him, as long as he was an opponent, he would not rest until he was dead. Even if he had to risk his life, he would not let his opponent have an easy time. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but sigh as she looked at Jiang Wenyan, who was seriously injured but abnormally determined. Usually, When she saw Jiang Wenyan, he always had a calm and gentle appearance, like a piece of warm jade. She didn't expect that there would be such a side to him under that gentleness. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang flashed and appeared beside Jiang Wenyan. Jiang Wenyan, long time no see. The sudden appearance of the figure stunned the three of them. When Jiang Wenyan saw that it was Bailey Hongzhuang, his dark eyes were instantly dyed with a trace of hope. Previously, he had already determined that he would lose his life here today, but he did not expect that things would actually take a turn for the better. Hongzhuang. Jiang Wenyan was surprised. You happen to be nearby? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I kept hearing a strange sound, so I came here to take a look, wondering if I could meet someone I knew. I didn't expect to really meet someone. Han Bowen's expression changed when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. The Saint of Light? That's right, it's me. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her chin and curled the corners of her lips into an enchanting angle. Han Bowen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other and a trace of fear appeared on their faces. Who would have thought that another person would appear at a time like this? Chapter 5738. Holy Lady of Light, this is a grudge between the four of us. I have no intention of offending you and I hope you won't interfere. Han Bowen had a complicated look on his face. Not to mention Bailey Hongzhuang's identity as the Holy Lady of Light, she was already a very difficult opponent to deal with. She came from a humble background but managed to defeat the genius, Xiao Souo. She was considered a shining star among the younger generation. Offending her was not a good thing at all. That's great. You can leave now and I can pretend that nothing happened. How about that? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and the smile on her lips was extremely amiable. Once she said that, Han Bowen and the other man looked at each other. A look of struggle flashed across their eyes. As long as Jiang Wenyan gives us the item, we'll leave immediately. Clang. Unsheathing her sword, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sharpened. It seems that there's no room for discussion? If you want this item, we can share it with you. Han Bowen spoke again. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. There are two of you and Jiang Wenyan alone. You're willing to share it with me, but I'm not willing to share it with you. Han Bowen was stunned. His face was as dark as water as he gritted his teeth and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Don't you go too far. You bullied my friend first and now you're asking me not to go too far? Bailey Hongzhuang took a step forward and pointed the thought-severing sword at Han Bowen. Seeing that there was no other way to ease the situation, Han Bowen and the other man made up their minds and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang together. In the outside world, attacking the Holy Lady of Light was indeed courting death. However, in the ancient battlefield, as long as the other party was dead, no one would know about it. On the other hand, if they got what they wanted, they might be able to improve greatly. Wealth comes from danger. They could only fight. Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised by their decision. She turned to look at Jiang Wenyan. It seems that we'll have to fight side by side. I've dragged you into this. Jiang Wenyan was a little apologetic. Since we're friends, there's no such thing as dragging me down. Back then, no one was optimistic about me, but you still stood on my side. Bailey Hongzhuang, only look at sincerity when making friends. Once we become friends, we will entrust our lives to each other. Her ink-black phoenix eyes were filled with seriousness and sincerity. It was a kind of trust that came from the bottom of her heart. Jiang Wenyan's heart skipped a beat. Touched emotions spread through his heart, and his gaze became even more resolute. What a great line. Then I won't waste any more words. Let's fight. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed and met Han Bowen's attack. Ding ding ding. The sharp swords collided, and sword chi burst out. The sharp sword chi seemed to be able to pierce through everything. Numerous gullies were formed on the ground. The two of them moved as fast as lightning. The power of light and the power of fire clashed. The raging flames dyed Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes red. The scorching temperature caused the surrounding air to churn. Bailey Hongzhuang activated her killing aura field, and a dense killing intent burst out. Swoosh! The terrifying killing intent stunned Han Bowen. Taking advantage of an opening, Bailey Hongzhuang's sharp sword stabbed out. A muffled sound was heard. Han Bowen's abdomen had been stabbed. She's so powerful. Let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Bowen quickly called for his teammates to escape. Bailey Hongzhuang did not expect Han Bowen to escape so quickly. By the time she wanted to chase after him, it was already too late. Chapter 5739. When Jiang Wenyan saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had chased the other party away, he was a little surprised. He had some understanding of Han Bowen. This guy was definitely not someone who would give up easily. However, he had left so decisively. It could be seen that even if it was just a face-to-face encounter, he had clearly felt that he was not Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent. It was because of this that he left decisively. They were both Nebula rank 9, but he was unable to make the other party retreat. Could it be that Hongzhuang's battle power was actually that strong? How are you? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Jiang Wenyan with concern. She had already noticed that Jiang Wenyan had vomited blood. It could be seen that his injuries were not light. Jiang Wenyan waved his hand. It's fine. I have already consumed the elixir. It will not take long for me to recover. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and asked, have you met any other cultivators before? Jiang Wenyan sat on the ground. After the previous battle, he was really tired. After I came to this ancient battlefield, I was trapped in the fog for a month. It was only a while ago that I started to wander around. Other than Han Bowen and Han Bowen, you are the third person I have met. Then we are considered to be fated. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. This place is so big. After walking for so many days, you only met a few people, and you met me. You also saved my life. Otherwise, I would have lost my life here today. Jiang Wenyan sighed. He was really lucky today. This means that your life is not meant to end. However, we have to be careful in this place. At least the two of us should be safer. Saying this, Jiang Wenyan could not help but ask, aren't you curious about what Han Bowen and the rest wanted to take away? If it was an ordinary person, they would have already asked when Han Bowen and the rest were here. However, until now, Bailey Hongzhuang had not mentioned it. He was also a little stunned. That is your thing. If you want to say it, then say it. If you don't want to say it, then forget it. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. She had always trusted her friends. If the other party was not willing to say it, she would not ask. The Saintess of the Light is indeed worthy of her reputation. Jiang Wenyan's eyes were serious. In the past, I only thought that you were able to beat Xiao Souo because of your talent. But now, it seems that other than your talent, you are different in many other aspects. You're not flattering me, right? Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly asked. Jiang Wenyan laughed heartily. This is a compliment to you. Bowen, how are your injuries? Han Bowen shook his head. I'm fine. It's not that serious. I just need to find a place to rest for a few days. You know that thing is not simple. Why did you give up so quickly? The man frowned. He was unwilling to give up just like that. The rumors outside are not wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation is very strong. Even if we are both Nebula 9th stage, her strength far surpasses mine. Han Bowen still had lingering fears. Even though they had only fought for a short period of time, he could still feel the terrifying gap between them. At first, he also wanted to test Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, but he found that the other party was unfathomable. After he used his full strength, Bailey Hongzhuang was still able to easily deal with him. From that moment on, he knew the difference in strength between the two of them. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang still had many mysterious methods. Once she used them, they might not even have the chance to escape. Chapter 5740. Is this woman's talent really that strong? The man was in disbelief. Although there were many rumors about Bailey Hongzhuang and he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was not weak, he still felt that it was exaggerated because of the halo of the Saint of Light. Now that Han Bowen had said this, he realized that he might have thought too simply. Han Bowen nodded fearfully. She's really strong. It seems that Bewitching's strength is also very terrifying. No wonder Xiao Souo and Jun Lingxuan were defeated by them. These two people really can't be judged by common sense. Then what should we do? Don't we want that thing? The man was depressed. Even though they were not sure what kind of treasure it was, they had stayed in the ancient battlefield for so long and had not gained anything. Something that was hard to come by would definitely not be simple. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and Jiang Wenyan are together, we don't have a chance for now. However, we can wait for the right time. Maybe there will be a turn for the better later. After Jiang Wenyan healed himself, he said, "Even if you're not curious, I have to tell you that half of this thing is already yours." "There's no need for that." Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand and smiled. Jiang Wenyan took out the item and said, "I didn't gain anything along the way until I found a cave. The cave was actually empty. I wanted to use it as a temporary shelter, but I accidentally found a map inside." "A map?" Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. "A map of the ancient battlefield?" "I had just found this map when Han Bowen and the rest appeared. I didn't have the time to look at it carefully. If it's really a map of the ancient battlefield, you're in luck." Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. They were completely in the dark when they came here. If they had a map, they would not be running around like they were now. Jiang Wenyan opened the map and looked at it together with Bailey Hongzhuang. With this, the two of them connected the situation marked on the map with the situation they had encountered along the way and found their current location. It really is the map of the ancient battlefield. Jiang Wenyan was also a little surprised. Although he had already guessed this before, he did not expect it to go so smoothly. "I wonder which senior is so powerful to be able to draw a map of the ancient battlefield." Bailey Hongzhuang was deep in thought. According to the map, the scope of the entire ancient battlefield was almost beyond their imagination. During this period of time, she felt that the distance she had traveled was not short, but it was only a very small area on the map. It should be the seniors who fought here. They have the map and have been to that cave. I was lucky enough to pick up the map. Jiang Wenyan's face lit up. Because he didn't know anything during this period of time, he really didn't feel good. Now that he had a guiding light, he felt much more at ease. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and carefully checked the situation on the map. She pointed to a place with a musical pattern and said, "Is this place the source of the music?" Jiang Wenyan took a closer look and replied, "It's very likely. Why don't we go over there and take a look?" Chapter 5741. Han Bowen and the rest will probably follow this sound and move forward. If they spread the news, I'm afraid that we'll be in trouble. Jiang Wenyan furrowed his brows. This was the most worrying problem during training. It's nothing much, it's just a map. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and smiled slyly. "Can't we just draw another one?" Jiang Wenyan immediately understood when he noticed her expression. "Good idea." Everyone knew nothing about the ancient battlefield now. No one could tell if the map they drew was real or fake. After they finished drawing the map, the two of them walked towards their destination. The sound was still very far away. If she had not seen the map, Bailey Hongzhuang would have thought of giving up as she walked. However, now that she knew the approximate distance, she did not think too much about it. Everything was just as they had expected. Many cultivators rushed over when they heard the sound. As they got closer to the source of the sound, the number of cultivators they met also increased. However, everyone was focused on reaching their destination as soon as possible. Hence, they did not have any other thoughts. In reality, all the cultivators who knew each other understood that they had not gained anything during this period of time. On the contrary, the Real treasure could only be found in the direction of the sound. "It looks like we're not too early. Someone should have arrived by now." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the increasing number of figures in front of her. Unfortunately, she did not meet anyone she knew. Since the sound hasn't disappeared, it proves that the item has not been taken away. However, let's speed up. If it really is a treasure, it would be a pity to miss it. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. She unleashed her movement skills to the maximum and rushed forward at lightning speed. "Xiao He, I can sense Yen Che and Linger's auras." "Really?" Xiao He was elated. "It looks like they're rushing over here too." Her round and bright eyes were smiling. She was used to moving around with everyone. It was not strange for them to be separated. "Sister." "Hongzhuang." Suddenly, two familiar voices sounded. Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and saw Bai Li Yanche and Linga. "I've finally met you." Bailey Hongzhuang stopped and said happily, "We've been hoping to find you sooner. It's all thanks to this sound. Otherwise, this place is so big. We really don't know when we'll bump into you." Bai Li Yanche's already enchanting face became even more enchanting after he smiled. Even Jiang Wenyan, who was also a man, couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Fortunately, he smiled at us. If he smiled at a lady, I'm afraid he would have to rely on you in the future. Bai Li Yanche chuckled. "Looks like you've been through a lot of situations like this, haven't you? I'm talking about you. Don't worry. I'm not as wealthy as you. I won't be so attractive." Bai Li Yanche waved his hand and smiled. "Sister, didn't you see brother-in-law?" Chapter 5742. Judging from the map, the sound did not come from the center of the ancient battlefield. If some of the cultivators were on the other side of the ancient battlefield, it would be impossible for them to make it here. "Let's go to the front and take a look. It would be great if we could see brother-in-law and the rest earlier," Bai Li Yanche said. "This place is strange. It would be safer to meet up earlier." "All right." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She also felt strange about the ancient battlefield that had suddenly appeared. Everyone sped up and realized that there were more and more cultivators around them. However, every cultivator was moving forward at lightning speed. If they were not familiar with the place, they would only feel a gust of wind and they would not be able to see each other's figures clearly. After traveling for a while, everyone finally arrived at the source of the sound. However, when they saw the figures in front of them clearly, they could not help but exclaim, "Oh my God, there are so many people here." Xiao He was shocked. Even though she had guessed that there were quite a number of cultivators here, the number was too shocking. In their line of sight, there were many cultivators surrounding the front. The scene reminded them of the grand occasion at the entrance of the ancient battlefield. Although the scale was not as big as before because only a portion of the cultivators had entered, the encirclement was not as big as the entrance. Hence, it did not seem much different from before. "There are so many people surrounding us. We can't even see the situation in front of us clearly." Ling frowned. "I wonder what's in front of us?" Bailey Hongzhuang looked around. At that moment, she was not in a hurry to check the situation in front of them. There were so many cultivators gathered here, but the treasure had not been taken away. It could be seen that it was quite difficult. On the contrary, she was more anxious to find Bewitching in the crowd. Bailey Hongzhuang's line of sight turned slightly, and with just a glance, she saw a familiar figure. As if he felt the gaze behind him, the figure turned around. The moment he saw Bailey Hongzhuang, a dazzling smile bloomed on his handsome face. "Hongzhuang." Bewitching walked out of the crowd and quickly walked to Bailey Hongzhuang. He held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand familiarly and said, "I finally meet you." Even with Hongzhuang's ability, he believed that there shouldn't be any problems during this period of time, but he still couldn't help but worry about her. Bailey Hongzhuang took a few steps forward. Her beautiful face was as bright as the sun, and her bright eyes were clearly filled with surprise. "Bewitching, you really are here." Bewitching looked around and saw that Bai Li Yanche, Linger, and Jiang Wenyan were all there. His smile became even brighter. "It's great that you're all here. From the looks of it, most of us have already gathered here, except for a few who haven't arrived yet. But maybe we'll see them after a while." "Who hasn't arrived yet?" "Big Brother, Yun Ju, Yun Yen, and a few other family disciples haven't arrived yet. Then Xiren and Yingying have already arrived." Bailey Hongzhuang looked in front of her in confusion. She clearly didn't see the two of them. Bewitching chuckled. "Turn around and take a look." Chapter 5743. It's great to see all of you." Before they got close, Shangguan Yingying's surprised voice could be heard. "This time, our meeting was really smooth. It's all thanks to this sound." When Xiren also spoke. Previously, when they were out for training, it was extremely difficult to meet up. However, this time, after they could move, they met up very quickly. Oh yeah, Beichen, what's the situation in front? Jiang Wenyan couldn't help but ask. Beichen suddenly understood. There's a lake in front and there's a pavilion in the middle of the lake. The sound came from the pavilion. However, until now, no one has been able to cross the lake and walk to the pavilion. Hearing that, Jiang Wenyan was shocked. Why is that? This lake is very magical. Cultivators can't fly over it at all. On top of that, there's a very sharp metal attribute power in the lake. Once a cultivator enters it, he won't be able to resist and will be pierced into a sieve. Since I came here, many cultivators have tried. Unfortunately, the results are. Everyone looked at each other. They didn't expect the situation to be so difficult. This ancient battlefield is strange everywhere. Even if we want to get a treasure, the difficulty level seems to be higher than before. Shangguan Yingying looked defeated. You don't know. When I was trapped in the fog, I was actually in the middle of the battlefield. When I saw everything clearly, I was almost scared to death. This is the first time in my life that I've had such an experience. Just thinking about it makes me feel unbearable. As she spoke, Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but shiver, as though she wanted to get rid of the creepy feeling. Hearing what Shangguan Yingying said, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh. I didn't expect our situation to be so similar. You're the same? Shangguan Yingying was shocked. I thought I was the only one who was so unlucky. Don't worry, you're not the only one. Bailey Hongzhuang was helpless. It seems that there's more than one place where the battle happened in this ancient battlefield. Originally, he thought that he was in the middle of the battle. Now, it seemed that there were many such situations in the ancient battlefield. Thinking about it carefully, this was a little strange. Although this region wasn't small, the size of the entire immortal realms was even larger. Even if there were battles, it was impossible for them to gather so densely in one place. Could it be that this place was specially used for fighting? Looking at the confused look of Bailey Hongzhuang, Beichen smiled as he held her hand. Wife, don't worry about it. The most important thing now is to get the treasure in the pavilion in the middle of the lake. That's right. When Xiren nodded, let's go and take a look. I feel that this place is so mysterious, the treasures must not be simple. Although this is a good opportunity for you and Yingying to perform. What do you mean? Both you and Yingying are of the metal attribute. Many people have tried it before, and they found that cultivators of the metal attribute would experience less resistance in the lake. Not only that, but because the metal element in the lake is extremely pure, you might even be able to gain some inspiration. If you can reach the pavilion in the middle of the lake, this treasure will be yours. Chapter 5744. When Xiren excitedly walked towards the pavilion in the middle of the lake, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest followed closely behind. The crowd that had surrounded the pavilion so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through quietly made way for them when they saw Beichen and the rest. It was only when they got closer that Bailey Hongzhuang could clearly see the pavilion in the middle of the lake. There was a lake in front of them. The lake was not very big, only a few hundred meters in diameter. The water was clear and rippled as a gentle breeze blew. However, at this moment, the clear lake water was stained with a few traces of bright red. Everyone could see that the corpse that had fallen in the lake water had long been pierced full of holes by the metal-type energy. The bright red spots made the calm lake water look even more demonic. In the middle of the lake, a red pavilion stood quietly. The pavilion was surrounded by red curtains. When the breeze blew, the curtains fluttered in the wind. It was a magnificent sight. Looking at the exquisite and strange pavilion in the middle of the lake, a scene appeared in everyone's mind. It was a peerless beauty in a red dress. She was playing a melodious zither in the pavilion in the middle of the lake. The sound of the zither drifted in the air and moved everyone's hearts. However, this peerless beauty had disappeared. It was hard not to feel nostalgic. There seems to be something on the table in the middle of the lake? Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the pavilion in the middle of the lake. She could not see it clearly when the curtains were covering it. However, when the wind blew, the curtains fluttered open. She clearly noticed that there was a golden object on the table in the middle of the lake. Bewitching nodded slightly. That's right. Everyone noticed this earlier. According to everyone's guess, this golden object must be a metal-type treasure. The lake water has always had such powerful metal-type energy. It must be related to the object in the middle of the lake. The owner of the pavilion must be a metal-type expert. As he spoke, Bewitching looked at Xiren and Shangguan. That thing will definitely be of great help to metal-type cultivators. Who knows, we might even be able to obtain the inheritance of this expert when we arrive there. With Bewitching's words, Xiren and Shangguan understood that this was an excellent opportunity for them. However, whether or not they could grasp the opportunity would depend on their own strength. Just as everyone was talking, there were cultivators who couldn't suppress their inner desires and tried to enter the lake. Wen and Xiren were not in a hurry. They only paid close attention to the situation of the other party entering the lake. After the cultivator entered the lake, he immediately rushed toward the pavilion in the middle of the lake. However, other than the fact that his speed was relatively fast when he first entered, the people behind him clearly noticed that his speed had slowed down. The surface of the water began to ripple. The cultivators struggled with all their might, wanting to break free from everything and rush forward. These cultivators were fine when they first entered. However, after moving forward 50 meters, the difficulty of moving forward increased a lot. Most of the cultivators stopped at around 60 meters. One of them was not weak and reached 80 meters. However, he failed in the end. Lin Taxing was the first to arrive. He explained what had happened previously. Look, this place is at least 200 meters away from the pavilion in the middle of the lake. If you don't have enough means to deal with it, you have to seriously consider it. Chapter 5745. That's right. The area around the lake does not allow cultivators to fly at all. Once you enter the lake, it's very difficult for you to pop your head out. I noticed a cultivator who was in the process of moving forward. He realized that he could not withstand the metal attribute energy and wanted to turn back immediately. However, he did not make it in time and lost his life. Bewitching shook his head and sighed. This is a good opportunity, but no matter what, life is the most important thing. Moreover, we only know that the items here are very helpful to metal attribute cultivators. However, the issue of the inheritance is still unknown. It may not be worth taking such a risk for such an item. We are well aware of just what kind of existence the ancient battlefield is. It is likely that the things that appear here are extraordinary. I will act according to my ability. When Xiren smiled faintly, his expression was relaxed, as though he did not take all of this to heart. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching both understood that Xiren was just pretending to be relaxed. The situation before them was too dangerous. After the cultivator exceeded 50 meters, it became very difficult for him to move forward. Streaks of blood spread out from the lake. He was obviously injured. Come back quickly. The cultivator who knew the man quickly shouted. His face was filled with anxiety. The man under the water also felt that he could not move forward at all. He immediately turned around and wanted to return. However, the crowd realized that his struggle was getting more and more intense, and there were more and more bloody holes on his body. After a fierce struggle, he finally followed in the footsteps of the former. Seeing this, the crowd could not help but sigh. It was not easy to cultivate until now. However, in the blink of an eye, he lost his life. What's the situation with the pavilion in the middle of the lake? Is it that no one is allowed to get close at all? The metal attribute energy here is so strong. How can an ordinary person withstand it? I feel that it doesn't make sense at all. Maybe it's deliberately taking people's lives. I think everyone should give up. In such a short time, how many people have lost their lives because of this? It's not worth it at all. It's better to look for opportunities elsewhere. For a moment, many cultivators chose to give up. Although the treasure was important, no one was willing to lose their lives. After making a decisive decision, some cultivators chose to leave first. Obviously, they did not want to waste time here. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other. If it was before, they would have thought the same as everyone else. However, after entering the abandoned immortal forest, they realized how powerful the cultivators of the immortal domain were. They also understood that this was not an intentional attempt to take someone's life, but a test. However, the targets of the test should be cultivators from the immortal region, not cultivators from the upper realms. The difference in strength between the cultivators of the two planes was simply too great. Xiren and Shangguan Yinging naturally understood this point. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. They had only been in the abandoned immortal forest for a short period of time. If they had studied for a while longer and improved their understanding of the metal element, it wouldn't have been so difficult to pass this stage. Just as everyone was thinking about what to do, two familiar figures suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Bewitching, we meet again. Chapter 5746. Just by hearing these familiar voices, Bailey Hongzhuang already knew that they were Jun Lingshuan and Xiao Shou. However, they were not surprised that these two people appeared here. Hearing Bewitching's indifferent voice, Jun Lingshuan chuckled. It's rare for us to reach a consensus on this point. Then we'll have to see who dies first before the other can be freed. Bewitching turned his eyes, his dark and charming eyes revealing a cold and frightening brilliance. He did not like to take the initiative to find trouble with others, but the other party's existence had threatened his family, so he could only fight to the death. Looking at Bewitching, Jun Lingshuan was shocked for no reason. He only felt that Bewitching seemed to have changed a little after not seeing him for a while. When he met Bewitching in the past, there was naturally no need to mention the enmity between them. Bewitching also wanted to take his life, but this kind of ruthlessness and decisiveness from the heart was something that had never been seen before. At least he could clearly feel that Bewitching's killing intent towards him was stronger than before. Then we'll have to rely on our own abilities. Jun Lingshuan calmed his inner emotions. In front of so many people, he could not show the slightest fear. After seeing Bewitching and Jun Lingshuan's confrontation, the surrounding people secretly sighed in their hearts. The enmity between these two people was really getting deeper and deeper. Perhaps, only one of them would be able to make it out of the ancient battlefield alive. Xiao Shou's eyes were tightly locked on Bailey Hongzhuang. This woman was her obstacle and the knot in her heart. Even though her master had once told her not to take this woman to heart, otherwise she would become a demon in her heart, but all that had happened in the past few years made it impossible for her to ignore all of this. Bailey Hongzhuang had even become her motivation to cultivate diligently. Whenever she had the slightest bit of slack, Bailey Hongzhuang's figure would appear in her mind, and she would grit her teeth and continue to cultivate. Only by killing Bailey Hongzhuang could she erase all of this humiliation. Bailey Hongzhuang also felt Xiao Shou's gaze. In fact, ever since she snatched the position of the Holy Maiden, Xiao Shou's gaze seemed to be filled with more hatred every time she appeared. It seemed that this woman really hated her to the core. Facing Xiao Shou gnashing her teeth, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled like a flower. Naturally, she knew what Xiao Shou was thinking. However, thinking was one thing, being able to do it was another. She did not have any intention of underestimating her opponent. She knew that with Xu Yu's guidance, Xiao Shou and Jun Lingshuan's powers had increased very quickly. However, she did not belittle herself either. During this period of time, none of them had slacked off in their cultivation. She believed that even if they were to fight head-on, the other party would not be able to gain an advantage. Woman, can you not always look at my master with such a murderous gaze? Xiao He stared at Xiao Shou with disgust. My eyes are about to fall out. Xiao Shou's expression stiffened and her face darkened. Shut up. Do you believe that I'll use a bamboo skewer to skewer you and cook you? As soon as he said this, Xiao He immediately exploded. Just you? When the time comes, I'll cook you and eat you. Why don't we try it? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.